Starting the recording. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Welcome you all to His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. So today Maharaj will be discussing about Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, chapter number 10 and verse number 20. And the name of the chapter is The Bhagavatam is the answer to all the questions. So just get
What's your verse number?
20.
Oh, that's wrong.
Is it? Okay. 22. Sorry, Maharaj. 22. Add 20.
Sorry, I might be. It should be 23.
Is it
23?
23?
Yes, 22 is already we done.
Yesterday
Study.
it was 23. Okay, maybe I'm not.
23. We have to start from 23.
Okay. That's fine. Let me just move to the 23. Sorry. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vastunamidam Katinya Lago Guvasana Sitanam Jigrasatastam Nirbinam Tasya Roma Mahiruham Tratra Chanam Bahir Basta Vachalavya Gunavritaha. When there is a desire to perceive the physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, hardness, warmth, cold, lightness, and heaviness, the background of sensation, the skin pores, the hairs on the body, and their controlling deity, the trees, were generated. Within and outside the skin is a covering of air, through which sense perception became prominent. The physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, are subjects of sense perception, and thus physical knowledge is the subject matter of touch sensation. One can measure the temperature of matter by touching with the hand, and one can measure the weight of an object by lifting it with the hand and thus estimate its heaviness or lightness. The skin pores, and the hairs on the body are all independent with the touch of sensation. The air blowing within and outside the skin is also an object of sense perception. This sense perception is also a source of knowledge. Therefore, this is suggested here that physical and physiological knowledge is subordinate to the knowledge of the self, as mentioned above. Knowledge of the self can expand to the knowledge of phenomena, but physical knowledge cannot lead to knowledge of the self. There is, however, an intimate relationship between the hairs on the body and the vegetation on the body of the earth. The vegetables are nourishment for the skin, both as food and medicine, as stated in the third canto, Vachamasya Vivirdvinam Vivasodishna Osadihi. Nagyam Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya. Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Vinobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Svadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakte Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Devase Sasunyavadi Astyatya Satarni Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhaja Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So verse after verse, we're hearing about how the different sense objects and objects of sense objects, and instruments for perceiving sense objects are all generated. Everything starts with the Lord and manifests itself. So here's the touch sensation. We see with our eyes. We use the eyes for seeing. You see, the eyes don't see. The eyes are instruments for seeing, but you're the person that's seeing. You're different from the eyes. You're perceiving the object, and you're using the eyes to see. Same with ears. We're hearing. We're using the ears to hear, but you're the one that's hearing, not the ears. They're the instruments that allow you to hear. So there's seeing, hearing, the speaking, the sound vibration. So all of the objects or all of the senses for acquiring knowledge, these are called the knowledge acquiring senses, are being mentioned. And here, this one here is touch. Touch gives us understanding of things that's mentioned here. How hard something is, how soft, what is warmth, cold, lightness, heaviness. And all of this is done due to the skin and the sensation of the air, both inside and outside the skin, which gives the perception of touch. But it depends on many of other situations, because one person may touch something and get a particular sensation, and another one may get a different sensation, depending on the person's instrument and their experiences. So here it's just another part of the manifestation of the living entity's desire to know things through the sense perception, or touch perception, I should say. Here it mentions that there's a controlling deity for every particular sense here, the controlling deity on the hairs of the body, which help gives the sensation of touch, are the trees. Yeah. Sometimes we say that the hairs on the body of the Virat Rupa are compared to the trees in existence. So this is a little bit about the touch sensation. And everybody's pretty much aware of touch, how it works. We perceive it all the time. Hardness, softness, all of these things. And they give us some knowledge of a particular object based on the touch sensation. We like to touch soft things. It gives us some pleasure. So in life, but people like to touch each other's body and get some kind of pleasure from that. So the touch sensation is connected somewhat with the sensation, with the desire to enjoy sense gratification, and even sex life, based on pretty much on the touch sensation. And if something doesn't meet our pleasure for touch, we reject it. Something is attractive and satisfies our feeling of touch, we become attached to it. So touch. Okay, we can go on to the next verse. We can go on to the next verse. Is there anybody out there? Okay. Astu ruhatas tasya dhammaka chikirsaya tasya tu balavan indra adama ubayasrayam. Translation. Thereafter, when the Supreme Person desired to perform varieties of work, the two hands and their controlling strength, and Indra, the demigod of heaven, became manifest, as also the acts dependent on both the hands and the demigods. In every item, we can note with profit that the sense organs of the living entity are never independent at every stage. This is also the main point that we're hearing in verse after verse, we are dependent on the Lord. The Lord is known as the Lord of the senses, Rishikesha. Thus, the sense organs of the living entity are manifested by the will of the Lord, and each organ is controlled by a certain type of demigod. No one, therefore, can claim any proprietorship over the senses. The living entity is controlled by the senses. The senses are controlled by the demigods, and the demigods are the servants of the Supreme Lord. That is the arrangement in the system of creation. The whole thing is controlled ultimately by the Supreme Lord, and thus there is no independence either in material nature or of the living entity. The illusion living entity who claims to be the Lord of his senses is under the clutches of the external energy of the Lord. As long as the living entity continues to be puffed up by his tiny existence, he is to be understood to be under the stringent control of the external energy of the Lord. There's no question of liberation from the clutches of Maya, illusion, however much one may declare himself a liberated soul. So sometimes it says the senses are like serpents or serpents. Serpents is something that bites and causes pain and even death. But senses or servants is one who assists you in your mission in life. So one of the fundamental and essential principles, which is foundational for the execution of devotional service, the one has to control the senses, not be controlled by the senses. The mind is the king of all of the senses, and the mind has to be directed in such a way as to direct the senses towards the objects of the senses. In the case, it is the activities of devotional service. One whose mind is led away by the objects of the senses is under the control of those objects and becomes, what we say, strictly under the control of the material energy and has to continue to evolve life after life within the clutches of the material energy. So one has to use the senses and not be used by the senses. But the Bhagavad Gita explains in the second chapter that one has to be like a turtle, or a tortoise is a better word. The tortoise can let his senses out, and then if he wants, he can draw his senses back in. So in the same way, the devotee has to be able to use their senses and not be used by the senses. The sense objects, it says, are more powerful than the senses, but the mind is more powerful than the sense objects. So the mind has to control the senses so the sense objects don't lead away the senses and the mind into areas of material sense gratification. For the devotee, it's very fundamental, or you might say essential, to keep very strict control of the senses at every moment. Subari Muni was a yogi, and he had controlled his senses very strictly. He was living underwater and performing meditation for many years. But at one point, he saw two fish copulating together. He became attracted to that, gave up his yoga practice, and then wound up getting married. And he married actually 50 girls. That's the whole story. He mentioned in the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the downfall of Subari Muni. So, although he was a strict yogi, still he was led away by the senses. There's another example, and that was Vishwamitra Muni. Vishwamitra Muni wanted to become a Brahmana and become very powerful Brahmana. And he had been a powerful Kshatriya, but in connection with Vashishta Muni, he was defeated by Vashishta Muni because Brahma Tejas, Brahminical power, is greater than Kshatriya power. and he was defeated. So he thought, I'm going to become a Brahmin. So he began to perform severe austerities by sitting down in the summertime, lighting 7 fires all around him and meditating under the hot sun with 7 fires all around him. And then in the wintertime, he would immerse himself up to his neck in ice cold water and meditate. And so he did this for a while. Indra, seeing that this yogi is performing great austerity, and Indra is thinking he's trying to take my position in the heavenly kingdom, because by austerity one can achieve many material benefits. And therefore Indra sent one society girl named Menaka, and he just simply the tinkling of her ankle bells caused Vishwamitra Muni to become attracted, and he gave up his yoga practice and wound up in marriage. And that marriage, of course, was famous. There was a daughter born named Sakuntala. There's a whole story of the life of Sakuntala. It's very famous throughout India. Very powerful personality she was. So after that happened, he decided to again perform austerities with the determination that he was not going to be attracted. And so, and he had developed some tremendous power through his austerity, because austerity gives you power, material power. And if you perform austerities in the spiritual realm, you also become spiritually powerful through your austerities and your devotion to Krishna, both. And when he was meditating again with a determination not to be deterred, again, Indra sent another girl named Ramba. And when he saw Ramba, he became angry, and he acquiesced the fire within his body, and he shot the fire out of his third eye and burnt her to ashes. And then he again fell down from his yoga practice. So attachment to and aversion for or to sense objects are both forms of attachment. Both yogis, Subari Muni and Vishwamitra Muni, failed. Why? Because they weren't focused on the Supreme Person. Got it. A devotee can control their senses when they engage fully in devotional service. Then the senses are like servants. They assist the devotee in making progress in devotional life. One should not try to stop the activities of the senses. That is artificial. And that will simply cause hard-heartedness, and eventually one will not be able to last in that state of affairs. So one has to engage the senses, as we hear in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Ambarish Maharaj, he used all his senses in the service of the Lord. He used his legs to walk to the temple of the Lord. He used his hands to massage the bodies of the devotees. He used his eyes to see the beautiful form of the Lord. He used his ears to hear the transcendental sounds glorifying the Lord. In this way, all of his senses were engaged in devotional service. That is Krishna consciousness. We can't stop the senses. The senses are meant to be used, but one has to purify the senses by engaging the senses in devotional service, and then they assist us in achieving the goal of life. Otherwise, the senses are like serpents. They will bite and cause you to fall down into material energy. So one has to be careful how to use their senses. Even devotees sometimes can be led away by sense gratification, even though they're performing devotional service for many years. So one should be careful, particularly in the association of two things which cause the senses to be attracted. And that is in handling wealth or in achieving wealth or in the association of the opposite sex. These two things are the most powerful force that attracts the senses and mind. And one may have to deal with that in one's devotional service, but one should be free from the desire to enjoy that. And one can only become free from that desire when they are fully engaged in devotional service. So, yeah, so therefore, as Krishna explains, in the one who controls the senses and the mind, the super soul is already reached. Such persons, they see the material energy in a neutral way. They don't try to reject it, though they don't try to enjoy it. Both of them are forms of attachment. They try to use the material energy in the service of the Lord, and therefore elevate their consciousness through what is called yukta vairagya, or that vairagya which engages sense objects in the service of the Lord. And so this verse here is very important because the mind will take one to different levels of existence unless we strongly control the mind and direct the senses towards the object, towards Krishna and devotional service. Otherwise, your senses will drag you through the material objects of the senses, sometimes enjoying, sometimes suffering. Maya Davase, Kacho Bese, Kacho Ho Bubu Dubai. Life after life, one is being dragged by senses and sense objects in the form of the opposite sex, in the form of money or wealth, in the form of the desire to enjoy. We have a desire to be happy, but we should understand that happiness is found on the spiritual platform and not on the material platform. If we still have this conception that we can be happy in the material world, then our senses will be directed in that way, and therefore that'll entangle. Therefore, one should meditate and keep one's mind fixed on the activities of a devotional service. And if one contemplates sense objects in the material sense, then as the verse explains in the Bhagavad Gita, that one contemplation of the objects of the senses, lust arises. From lust, anger, from anger, delusion of memory, and from delusion of memory, one falls down again into the material energy. I turn to that verse 262 and 263 in the Bhagavad Gita. Dayatam visayam pumsan tesu sangat sajayate sangat sajayate kama kama krodha bijayate krodha bhavati sammoham sammoham shriti vibrahma shriti brahmasa buddhinasa buddhinasa pranashyati. Satyabhama, go to that verse 262 in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, go to the translation. While contemplating the objects of the senses, the person develops attachment from them. From such attachment, lust arises, develops, and from lust, anger arises. Go to the next verse, 263. From anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material world. So this is the process of fall down. contemplating material sense objects. So one should contemplate devotional service or activities in devotional service. One should contemplate the lotus feet of the Lord, place the lotus feet of the Lord within one's mind and one's heart. One should think of Krishna or devotional service, and that way one will not be subjected to the allurements of the senses, which are very powerful, because the sense objects are also very powerful. Okay, so we can stop there and open it up for discussion.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the class. Devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realization, please unmute yourself and ask. My internet is a little flaky today, so I will see if I can switch on my camera. And let me just go on the
Wait, everybody get a chance to get settled and think. Don't,
Yes.
Mhm. We go to the temple in the morning or sometime, and we see the beautiful form of the Lord. We can contemplate that within our mind throughout the day. Mohanasini Radha.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the lecture. I listened to the lecture and I was thinking if what does it mean exactly, devotional service in this verse exactly? Because is it needed to be engaged in devotional service like in the temple, or is it meant like, we can perform devotional service also at home and go to work and bring the fruits of our activities to the Lord through our family members and organize sanghas and so on, like this, and maybe make some bhakti vriksha programs at home. Is it also like this, or
These are all activities.
only in the temple?
No, temple is one place. How many devotees are actually living in the temple? Well, many of them are Krishna consciousness because they're performing devotional service outside by using their home as a temple, inviting devotees over to have programs, distributing prasadam, having kirtan, having programs. So devotional service is not limited to the temple. It's easier in the temple because the environment is supportive. Outside, it's a little bit more difficult because you are surrounded by the material energy. Well, both one can perform devotional service, either place.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you have to work a little harder if you're working outside. Prabhupada said, he used an example. He used an example of a stock exchange. Maybe you're not familiar with a stock exchange. The stock exchange is a place where people trade and buy stocks from different corporations. So there's two places you can buy. You can buy outside or you can buy on the exchange itself. Prabhupada uses the example, if you're on the exchange itself, then you're buying and selling constantly. And so you're getting all opportunities for buying and selling. But if you're outside, you can also buy and sell, but the opportunities are not so available. So it's a little more difficult, or you might say, from some people to perform devotional service outside because they're still allured by the external energy. If you can learn to use the external energy and the facilities that the external energy provides, by creating an environment of Krishna consciousness, then you can perform devotional service there also in your home, or even on the streets. We do Harinam Sankirtan. So, yeah.
But then we can have our own business also, right?
But provided you follow the principles.
Yes.
That means you have to give a percentage of your business to support religious activities, take another percentage to maintain yourself, and keep a smaller percentage for savings. This is the division of wealth based on your business, but the business should not be something that is against the four regulative principles. You cannot own a store that sells cigarettes and liquor and expect to practice devotional service.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that because there are devotees who have been through that. Many were forced to give it up. Others still do that. They say, how can we run our store if we don't sell liquor and cigarettes? Because people come into the store for that, and then they buy so many other things. But that is breaking the principles. And therefore, your spiritual advancement will be slackened or stopped. You have to be free from the activities of the four regulative principles. No gambling. The best thing is to do Krishna conscious business and work within the society of devotees and not separate. And then you're protected by that atmosphere. Devotees also have business, but they use their business just to sell products to the devotees and to people in general. Like there's this one thing I forgot, I don't know where it is. It's called Haribol. It's a company called Haribol. They make all kinds of Krishna conscious things that they sell. And then they use their money. They give some money to the temples, use their money for their own personal use, like that. But the more you play with the material energy, the more you're subjected to become affected by that material energy.
But we are not the controllers at all. Only Krishna is the controller.
Well, you have to let him control you.
Yeah.
If you don't let him control you, then you'll be controlled by another energy. You have to put yourself under Krishna's control. And then you're not controlled, you're free, because Krishna's free. And therefore, you're also free. But if you don't put yourself under Krishna's control, then you're controlled by his external energy. And that means you're entangled in the cycle of enjoying and suffering based on the movements of the material energy. Amrita Nam.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. There are many powerful points, Guru Maharaj, today. One of which got my attention was the attraction for the wealth and the opposite sex which Maya throws on us. So I was just wondering that many times it happens that even this wealth and opposite sex, they without any endeavor or uh, without any meditation over it, they keep coming to our life in the form of patterns. So is it due to the karma, or is there maybe the any other reason for it, Maya testing or something like
It's,
that?
the whole world moves by these two things. These are the two powerful forces of the external energy. Desire for wealth, a desire for enjoyment in the opposite sex. It says in the Bhagavatam, many stalwart devotees have fallen victim to them after practicing Krishna consciousness for many, many decades. We just had an example, I won't mention any names, of one very stalwart devotee who practiced Krishna consciousness for 57 years. And then, and he was a sannyasi for most of those 57 years. Then all of a sudden, he was gone. He got attracted to we don't really know all of the details. We got attracted to some sense gratification connected with the opposite sex. So it's very powerful. Therefore, one has to stay fixed in devotional service. Marriage helps you to get protected from those things. That's why marriage is safe. You have one partner. Of course, you don't use your partner for sense enjoyment. You work together to help each other perform devotional service, and you share Krishna consciousness together. And you don't associate in a very familiar way with others who are of the opposite sex. Sometimes in our service, we have to deal with the opposite sex, but we should be very careful not to let the mind and senses gravitate towards a desire for enjoyment. And therefore, one should not prolong one's association in the opposite sex in the name of service also, because that may also be dangerous. So yeah, unfortunately, sometimes we think that householders are immune from sex attraction, and therefore we give them services to work with other ladies. And that's another form of illusion that should not be done. And they should avoid that also. So yeah, you have these two forces are very powerful. They're Maya's nuclear weapons, wealth and women. Or you might say the word woman is used in the Shastra, but the definition of woman is explained differently than what we perceive. For man, woman is woman, and for woman, man is woman. So woman in the Shastras refers to the opposite sex, and not necessarily the female gender.
Guru, see this on the practical aspect. I have often observed that conscious society, grihastas get this benefit, but there are many women. There are many women who are still either single, either widow, divorced, or maybe even grihasta, but other members are not practicing. Only she is practicing. So there are a lot of female what do you say? Many females are still victims.
Yeah, they've chosen that lifestyle, but it's very dangerous because generally, as it says, women desire some shelter. If they don't get the shelter of the husband, they have to get shelter of their grown-up sons. If they don't get that, shelter of their father, and sometimes they have the shelter of the guru, but the guru can't play the same role as a father or a husband plays. But he gives shelter also by engaging them in devotional service. And ultimately, they have to find shelter in Krishna. But it's very difficult. Most women who are in that situation are generally not happy. Unless they're over 70 years old and they've been through it all and they're just fixed in Krishna consciousness, then they can make it. They've been through it all. They've had husband, they've had children, they've had everything. And now they're just dedicating their lives to Krishna consciousness. They can do that. But they also should very carefully associate with the same sex and not with the opposite sex. Because that sex desire doesn't leave you. It lasts all the way to the end of life. Even though the machine doesn't work, the desire still is alive. And that's been illustrated by one pastime, where Akbar was talking to Birbal, and he was saying to Birbal, I think that this sex desire starts to wane as one gets older and older. Birbal says, no, not in fact. Akbar was very shocked to hear that. Birbal said, you make an experiment. In your kingdom, there's one man who's your dedicated, he's a loyal, dedicated servant of yours. He's an old man. He's pretty much on his deathbed. Well, let's go see him. And tomorrow you come to see him and you bring your young daughter. Akbar had a young daughter who was quite attractive. So they came along with Birbal. And then Birbal said, when you walk in the room, watch the eyes of the man when you walk in. And when Akbar and his daughter walked in, the old man's eyes went right to the girl. And then the message was clear. So the sex desire doesn't die even at the end of life, even though the instruments are not able to function like they used to function. Still, the desire is still in the mind and within the heart. So one has to develop attraction for Krishna. And by developing strong attraction for Krishna, not just attraction for Krishna, strong attraction, one can overcome the attraction of the opposite sex. Only then. Because this is Maya's weapon, the opposite sex. This is her kingdom. And she has the attraction between male and female is natural. You don't have to, go to school to learn about it. It's natural. But it's contrary to our spiritual life. Therefore, in order to control it and to give it some sanctity, marriage is there. The marriage is there for the procreation of children, like that. One husband, one wife, duty to raise children in Krishna consciousness. They said they support each other, follow the regulative principles of grihastha life, and become good devotees like that. And there are many examples in our society. But a woman who's not protected by a man, she's very vulnerable to the opposite sex and can be easily led away also. And a man also, if he's not very much careful to control his mind and senses in the association of the opposite sex. It's very powerful. If you want more information on this particular subject matter, what you do is go to the Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto and the 31st chapter, from verse 31 to 41 in the 31st chapter. There's 10 verses about the attraction of the opposite sex. Powerful verses. One verse says, just see the power of Maya in the form of the opposite sex. Even great conquerors have fallen victim to such allurements. So one has to, the only way you can get over that is, or the way you can lose that attraction, is to be fully engaged in devotional service. Otherwise, you can't do it simply by not wanting to do it. It doesn't work. Because even though you may not fall down on the gross level, you fall down on the subtle level. That means the mind gets attracted, although you know you shouldn't do it, still the mind is infatuated, allured, attracted, and even disturbed in the association of the opposite sex. And that's a subtle form of fall down. And if that continues, it will manifest on the gross level also.
Yes, Maharaj, very much clear. So, just a small follow-up is, if a person has fallen down due to this kind of reasons, the holy name does help in lifting them up, or they have to do the required
Well,
atonement.
Holy name is one of the most powerful forces to stay unaffected by the attraction of the material energy. It is the most powerful force, because the holy name purifies the consciousness and awakens one's attraction for Krishna. The whole idea is to get attracted to Krishna. Not just attracted to Krishna, but fully attracted to Krishna. This is the process of bhakti. We have to develop our attraction for Krishna. Therefore, we hear about Krishna, we speak about Krishna, we find opportunities to remember Krishna in different situations. We keep pictures of Krishna in our home and in our office, wherever we are. We see Krishna everywhere. And then when we're in the temple, then our attraction for Krishna really grows when we see the beautiful form of Krishna standing in his two-form, bending form, smiling, playing on the flute. His transcendental form alone is attractive to the minds of the devotees who have developed an attraction for Krishna. And that's the only formula. There's no other formula. You can try to fight yourself free from these attractions, but unless you get attracted to something higher, your attraction will fall down to something lower. We cannot be attracted to nothing. There's no such thing. Detachment requires attachment. Detachment from Maya, attachment to Krishna. The whole process is to get attracted to Krishna and to fall in love with Krishna ultimately.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for clarifying the entire question very clearly, because there are a lot of practical aspects to this thing. So thank you very much for clearing the concepts. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Sridevi?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I'm very grateful to Amritanam for asking this question, and to you also to go a little further into it. First, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I think the greatest challenge for us in our devotional life is exactly this control of the mind and senses, because they're always clamoring for attention and they are the cause of us taking birth again and again. So how does one, yes, we know we have to control the senses, we have to engage more and more in devotional service. While we are in that process, there is so much temptation. And of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult to control. And personally, for me, the greatest challenge is prasadam. I love prasadam, and any amount of prasadam, I can just gobble it up. So I'm just wondering, what should one have one's own prasadam, say when traveling? Or what strategies can we use to control the tongue in such a way that we don't fall prey to this desire for eating excessively?
Well, one of the reasons is that if you eat too much or eat too little, then it becomes difficult to perform your devotional service. So you do that in regard to what is beneficial to your devotional service. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one who is temperate, which means moderate, one who is moderate in eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can perform the yoga system. So in the preceding verses, he talks about not to eat too much or too little, not to sleep too much or too little. Balance. One of the qualities of a devotee is balanced eater. Sometimes, maybe in the feast or in certain celebrations, you eat a little bit more. But one who continues to do that regularly, that's called atyahara. It's called overeating. It's Rupa Goswami explains it's one of the principles of fall down. So don't eat too much, don't eat too little. And especially, if you're elderly and you eat too much, it'll impinge on your health also. For sure. Prabhupada would say there's two kinds of mistake in eating, overeating and undereating. He says for a young person, overeating mistake is okay. And for an old person, undereating mistake is okay. So you, Sri Devi, if you make a mistake by undereating, you're okay. So, but for young kids, if they overeat, it's not so bad. But still, they should learn to control it. So take prasadam, but not too much, not too little. Balanced eater is one of the 26 qualities of a devotee. It's called balanced eater. Like that. If you learn how to eat properly and have a variety of foodstuffs, then you can satisfy the sense of taste. And that way you won't eat too much of one particular thing. Balanced eater.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, thank you very much.
Just work on it. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
As soon as you performed one time when you're eating and you want to eat more, but you don't, and you stop when you're satisfied, you get the realization, yes, I did the right thing, and you feel good about it. And then that will set the pattern for success in the future. But if you don't do that, then you keep going in the same direction, then you'll never be able to experience that satisfaction. Abhishek?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, once in one of your lecture, you said about those who are not initiated, their food is not accepted by Krishna. So one should instead take prasadam from temples. But I heard from devotees that if you are not initiated, then you can consider Srila Prabhupada as your guru and offer to him. So, Prabhupada, can you please guide me?
There's no contradiction in what I said. You're taking two different contexts and comparing it.
Means,
If you're living at home, and then you take a picture of the deity, or actually a picture of Srila Prabhupada, and you cook, and then you offer to Prabhupada using the prayers for a proper offering. Fine, that's fine. But if you're not initiated, you can't cook in the temple. That's the point. You have to be initiated, actually second initiation, to cook in the temple. But at home, obviously, you may not always be able to get foodstuffs from the temple. So you have to cook and offer it to a picture of your spiritual master, more Srila Prabhupada, and then you can take that as prasadam. Any other questions?
There is a question, Maharaj, in the chat. I'll read that from Narsingh Leela Mataji. She's saying, can you hear me, Maharaj? I'll increase my volume maybe. Let's see. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. All glory Shri Guru Maharaj. You just read 2 verses from the Bhagavad Gita. In that process, after contemplating a sense object, is it possible for a living being to stop the fall that is described? Does
It's possible to stop the flow,
yes,
but you have to connect yourself with something else, something higher. Because when you get to the anger stage, anger is the frustration that comes when you're not able to fulfill your desire for sense gratification. Then anger manifests. When you get to that level, then you're in trouble. You have to stop it at the contemplation level.
she's next asking Maharaj that does every instance of contemplation inevitably result in a complete fall? Or
No.
yeah.
Stop it at the contemplation level. The mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking is contemplation. Feeling means you start moving in the direction of your thinking, and then willing means you do it. But in the feeling stage, if you say, oh, this is not right, I shouldn't be thinking like this, let me think about Krishna, let me think about devotional service, then you can stop that fall down. But it has to be stopped at the initial stage, and not if you let it go when it gets too far, then you wind up, when we say, either angry, frustrated, or ultimately you fall down, either one.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Narsingh Mataji. Thank you. So, Bhagavan Chaitanya Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sri Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Vaishnavas everywhere. Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay. So Guru Maharaj, if a particular devotee is frustrated with the material world and wants to escape, and let's say they go to the forest and they are all by themselves, they're chanting and doing their best to survive, would that be enough, Maharaj, to go back to
No.
Godhead, or would going to a dham be better?
Better to go to a temple or a place where devotees are regularly worshiping. The forest, you still drag your mind with you, and your material desires will still be there. No, that's not recommended to go to the forest. Sages did that in previous ages, but they were fixed in complete contemplation on the absolute truth. Frustration is not positive. Frustration is a negative emotion that is rejecting something. So rejection doesn't get you Krishna consciousness. It helps you to get free from the attachments of the material energy, but then you have to take up the positive activities. And to go to the forest and start chanting, that's very difficult unless you're Srila Haridas Thakur
Yes.
or somebody on that level.
Yeah. In the modern world, forest has a different connotation. You can go to Manhattan and there's the biggest forest. Like there's nobody cares about you. Nobody will be all alone.
Well, the asphalt jungle.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's another form of material attachment.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sanatana Goswami approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked, what is the first duty of a devotee. The Lord said, Asat Sangha Tayaga E Vaishnava Achar. Asat Sangha. Asat means material. Give up the association of the materialists and take to the association of the spiritualists. Asat Sangha Tyaga. Tyaga means to give up.
Give up.
Eva Achar. That means to adopt the association of the Vaishnavas. So that's the first principle. If a person is in that stage, then they should immediately go for the association of devotees, and then their spiritual life will start to develop. Not outside, not in the forest. There's no association there. Or the association is not exactly conducive to your spiritual practice.
Wonderful, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You thinking of going to the forest?
No, it's a hypothetical because I have thought about going for a week like this to this like a Bombay type jungles to be all alone. That's the best place to be jungle. I hate the forest.
Yeah, you can go to, we have so many rural communities where you can go. And that gives you both the opportunity to associate and to practice Krishna consciousness by yourself if you want. You can do both. Without association of devotees, we're pretty much lost.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Bhagavan Chaitanya Prabhu. So I'm going to read the comments from Rasa Vilasni Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev and assembled devotees. Maharaj, on the 11th and 12th October, there was a 24-hour kirtan in New Vrindavan. We make sure to attend it every year. Yesterday, Ram Roy Prabhu, Amala Kirtan Prabhu, and many other kirtaniers also came. The kirtan of all kirtaniers was truly amazing. When Ram Roy Prabhu led the kirtan, it was so wonderful. Every single person started dancing and was completely in ecstasy. It didn't even feel like we were in bodily consciousness or in this material world. The entire atmosphere had completely transformed. Everyone was jumping and dancing like anything. Truly an amazing experience, Guru Maharaj. All glories to you. Just wanted to share this. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for inspiring us and showing us how important Kirtan is.
Ram Roy, I know him well. He's in charge of the Harinam ashram in New York. He's been doing Harinam every day for the last 14 years. No, I'm sorry, not 14. Practically his whole life. That's all he does is Harinam. Yeah, he's a very powerful personality. And of course, you had so many other personalities who can inspire you in Krishna consciousness. It was good. Nice to hear that.
Thank you, Rasulasni Mataji. Yeah. Any other questions, devotees? Yeah.
Ram Roy, last time I saw him, he told me, "Hey, come to New York. There's a lot of preaching here." He said, "You're preaching to the Indians. They're easy. Come to New York and really get into the tough preaching." Because the New Yorkers are tough. So it's not easy to preach to. So that was my invitation. I listened and still thinking about what he said. He says the Indians, yeah, they'll fall at your feet and give you a garland and worship you. But in New York, not like that. You got to prove yourself. He talks tough, and he is tough too. I mean, he runs an ashram, and they're out there every day for at least 5-6 hours a day. They do Hari every day. Winter, summer, doesn't matter. So when you said it was Ram Roy that kirtan blasted everybody, I wasn't surprised. He's a New Yorker, but I mean, he's doing something that is not easy, trying to keep a Harinam ashram, devotees who are who go out every day in the streets to chant for hours and hours. He's been doing it. Then some people come, some people go, but he's been steady in organizing it. He started it in 2009, and he's been going ever since. And even before then, he was doing kirtan in Vrindavan. So that's his whole life, just kirtan. So I'm happy to hear that. Really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Asmi Mataji. Sridevi Mataji, you have an answer?
Yeah, I have a question. So, Guru Maharaj, to be in the association of devotees to perform various devotional activities, that's quite easy because we are all of the same mindset. We all want to do the same things. But when one comes into, say, a group of people who are not devoted to them, like now I'm here in this institution and I would like to do something now that Damodar Ashtakam can be sung and lights can be offered to the Lord. How does one approach the institutional heads to try to convince them to engage in some form of devotional service to benefit inmates?
To benefit people in jail?
No. These are the people in the senior citizen home. Along with that, there's the Gurukul for boys. Of course, it's all Shankarites. This is a Shankarite stronghold.
In Krishna consciousness. And this is everybody's who's a preacher. If you want to do something, you got to do it. You got to get it started. You got to pull in the energy. You got to get it going. And then you'll be successful. If you depend on others to get it going, they have to share your same idea. And if they don't share your idea, they won't do it. Trying to convince others is harder than doing it yourself, I think. Don't worry about trying to convince others to do something. Get yourself started and attract others and do something. That's how Krishna consciousness works. It's not about petitioning the higher echelon to do something. They'll say we're doing something. They'll say, if you want to do it, then go ahead. And if they can give you some support, like financial support, then that would be something you could approach for. But don't expect other people to do what you want to do. It's not necessarily going to happen. It just doesn't work like that in this time.
No, not that I want them to know how to. I want to know how to approach them so that I can do it. So access kids. I want to tell them the story of Lord Damodar.
Don't worry about approaching them so you can do it. You do it. Find out from others who are doing it, how they're doing it, and just ask them and they'll tell you how they're doing it. If you want to find out how somebody does something, ask them. They'll tell you. No problem. They'll tell you right away, we're preaching like this and this is what we do. Nobody hides their preaching.
Talk to the local devotees how to approach because they will not give me access to the children unless I ask for permission.
Well, you're talking about within ISKCON or outside of ISKCON?
Outside.
Outside. Yeah, just like, just connect with Radha Dasi. Radha Dasi's in London. She's doing programs and book distribution in schools, prisons, old age homes, libraries, hospitals. She's a dynamo. Just one lady, she started the whole thing. Radha Dasi. I can give you her email. You can connect with her. She's in London. She does it all over.
Okay, yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The devotees in UK, there's a few devotees online here. They may know Radha Dasi. Anybody from the UK there know Radha Dasi? Silpesh, you don't know her? Sukava.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I know Mataji, and as far as I'm aware, she's supplying distribute the books to the institution. She doesn't preach, basically. I have been with her, helping her.
Yeah, she puts books in all of these
Yeah,
institutions.
in all the institution. Yes, they supply the books. Yeah, everywhere. They put it everywhere. All the
Yeah,
institutions.
make contact first
Yeah,
before you do that.
yeah.
And if you use the books as a way in, you may also be able to go in personally. And you can also say, I'll come in and give a lecture to your group about our philosophy, our way of life, our tradition. The books can be a way in. So Sukava,
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
can
I'll
you-
contact the local ISKCON Khargar temple and because they must be very
Yeah.
familiar with how to do the things over here in Nerul.
Yeah, just ask Sukava, she knows Radha Dasi.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay. I guess we can stop here. We're at almost an hour and a half. So thank you very much. And we'll see you tomorrow for Chaitanya Charitamrita class at the same time.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
coming.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Happy to see
Hare
so
Krishna.
many
Thank you so much,
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Happy to
Thank you,
see
Guru
you.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. So tell your friends and others, give them the link also. Let them come online and also take part in these classes too.
Yes, Guru.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Guru
Guru
Maharaj.
Maharaj, of course.
Hari, Hari, Hari.
Mama, Mama,